Ladies and gentlemen, we have today with us a veteran of the IT industry and currently an advisor to CDOT. Probably veteran is a word which does injustice to him. I would call him a sailor, a voyager who led many a ship, discovering new lands with his crew, and is now a glorious, towering lighthouse, shining its beacon, which shows the way to many a ship, which has seen the waves, the tides, the monsoons, the oil rigs, the high tides, and the low tides of an immense ocean, the ocean of the R&D of telecom software. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having the privilege of talking to Pratyush Dasgupta. Pratyush, you started your career in 1987 as a scientist at the DRDO, the Defense Research and Development Organization, the premier R&D organization of India, working on various areas of military technology. Please tell us how that happened and what were your experiences there since you worked there for nearly 5 years.
Yeah, thanks, Prashant. Before I start on that, thanks for having me. And thanks for all the kind words. I'm not too sure, how much of it I really deserve. But of course, nevertheless, I liked it. And thanks for that. And of course, as always, when you say, it's so well articulated all the time, you always pick the right words with the right diction and all, so that's kind of makes things even better. Okay. So yes, I started my career with DRDO, and the way it started, yeah. So I went through the selection process, and I was offered as a scientist position there. I was part of their communication division, and that's how I kind of I started there. And over there, I was primarily in communication. It was primarily focused on switching signaling software is what I was doing. As you know, like I mean, DIDO does both the hardware development as well as software. So I was primarily, of course, on the software side. And the very first project that I had started with was what is called a trunk call simulator. It's basically a teletraffic simulator required for defense. It was immense learning. I would say the DIDO. The best part was that okay. I mean, being one of the uh, I would say most premier organization, R&D organization in those times in India. And so in terms of the technology exposure, the kind of equipment that we could lay our hands into, etc., perhaps was really possible elsewhere, And in that time, in 80s, late 80s, 86, 86, 87 kind of a time frame when I joined, DIDO was perhaps one of the most coveted places one could look for. And from that point of view, I would say I was rather lucky to be able to kind of get in there. And it was an immense learning experience. After the TCS, the trunk call simulator, then I worked on a network management system, which is very close to your heart. And this NMS was for what is called AREN, Army Radio Engineer Network, Plan AREN, they call it. So it's primarily doing the complete network management for the Plan AREN network. And it was a pretty huge project. And I after the TCS, the NMS is what I got into and really saw through the entire cycle of the development, right from the very inception when the specs were kind of written down from that point, developing the whole stuff, and then actually trialing it at different locations. That way, it was the complete setup that I was part of. It gave me huge learning, huge opportunity to kind of grow as a professional in my early days. So from that point of view, I think it kind of it really created that platform for me to kind of to take I would say a launch from there. From that point of view, I guess the DIDO experience in LRD has been tremendous. Yes, overall, I think DIDO has been a very very great experience for me, a great learning. And any day when I look back, it only I cherish all the memories that I have from the earlier days. Yeah.
I believe it is an undisputed fact that the best years of your professional life were spent at Hughes Software Systems, HSS. where you led a large engineering team spearheading one project after the other, deploying your software in the field, which is being used by millions of users across the world, I dare say. Then you headed the innovation at Hughes and Addison. It is safe to say that the sun never sets on your software deployed across the globe. Please walk us through your journey, your glorious journey at Hughes, right from the story of how you joined Hughes.
When I learned and heard that, okay, Hughes is going to set up something here in India, and I knew about Howard Hughes, many people knew about how the one of the most eccentric genius of the world, and he was the guy who everybody knew about. And I had some knowledge about Hughes, especially Hughes Electronics and Hughes Network Systems. And I knew that, okay, I mean, if Hughes is going to set up something in India, it is going to be a pure play communication software company, And from that point of view, I had pretty much aspired and made up my mind that, okay, if I get an opportunity to join Hughes, I would not possibly think twice, I got to know, I saw an advertisement from Hughes HSS, and I had applied. And again, I was, went through the interviews and all. I still remember the interview that happened. Some of the people that you know who interviewed me was Mao, Adesh, and uh, the guy who was heading the networking group. And yeah, I think I would definitely say it was a fantastic interview. That one of the best interviews that I had. I liked the interview that I had in the radio. I mean, the moment I finished, the vibes were pretty clear that okay, I made it. And then of course I got the offer. Otherwise, I was pretty much well settled in Bangalore, and but this, of course, this position was in Delhi. But of course, there was no room for even a second thought of whether I would like to take this opportunity or not. In fact, just to tell you, around the same time, I had also got an offer from a Bay Area company, and in fact, that had come just before I got the Hughes offer. And in fact, they had started my H1B processing, and that's when I got the Hughes offer. And I went and told them that, okay, sorry, this is my dream company. I can't take this offer anymore. So they understood. They understood and appreciated. And in fact, I mentioned about this guy who was heading the hardware division of the TTC, the Anurag Gupta. I kind of told them, okay, why don't you take Anurag in my place, And Anurag went to the US in my place. That's how it happened. So coming back, in Hughes, then I got the offer and I joined. And the very first day, the day I had come to join in the near place office at IT, there was a huge pleasant surprise that it was awaiting me. And that really kind of set the tone for me for my journey there, I would say. I came there to sign up the papers and all. So there used to be lady Saigita Narayan in HR. She was supposed to take care of all the formalities and all. So she said that, okay, I mean, before we start the formalities, our head of HR, Adesh, he would like to speak to you for 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, fine. So I just went to Adesh's office, and Adesh said that, okay, I was offered a TL position. In the offer letter that I had received from HSS was the TL position, which is a E4 position, as you might remember. And when I went to Adesh's office, Adesh said that, okay, I mean, welcome and all. Then he said that, okay, I mean, we have actually revisited your appointment offer, and we have decided that okay, we are going to take you as a E5, not at E4, okay, as a senior principal engineer. This was something, I had not asked for. I didn't even know about. I had got the E4 offer, TL offer, I had accepted the offer, and there was no reason for, and I never knew about this. It was entirely done within HSA's leadership to see that, okay, this guy would fit in that principal engineer position, and he deserves that, and he should be taken in that. So that was a huge, I would say, kick, and 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 one couldn't have kind of asked for a better first day in a company, like when I've come there to join in a particular position, and I have been taken in a position a level above on the very first day. So that really set the tone. So first, I was part of the CDPD project, Cellular Digital Packet Data project that HNS was doing. That time, of course, we were doing only projects for HNS, which was a print company in Germantown. And CDP, in fact, as you would know that, okay, I mean, HNS in many ways, we're doing pioneering work in all the spheres. I mean, later they got into satellites, SATCOM and all, but prior to that, it was, and in fact, already they were doing some of the SATCOM work as well. But on the terrestrial network side also, they were doing a lot of pioneering work. And CDPD was one such work, where the Bell Labs were the primary proponent of the CDPD technology, and which was kind of embraced and imbibed by HNS, and HNS was developing a system. And GSM had not still kicked in, and neither CDMA had really kicked in that way. So that was one of the, I would say, the first cellular digital packet data system which was coming into existence. So that was the first project, and I was the overall lead for that from India side, on the technical front, and I would say techno managerial front. And of course, as part of the CDP project, some of the people that I worked with at HNS had, I mean, riots of great people, the kind of people that I have seen there, be it, subsequently also, but in those days, be it Ashok Mehta, be it George Choket, be it Tamiji Homa, and so many, the kind of talents and the kind of, knowledge base that I have seen, was incredible, and no wonder that HNS was so successful in those days, In fact, HNS was one of the first $1 billion plus company in that space, in those days, which is the big thing. I remember, I was at HNS at Jamdown office, and we had gone for lunch in the cafeteria. I'm sure you have been there too. And there was a big board put up that, okay, we have crossed the 1 billion mark. That was a big thing. And then after CDPD, I got into another project which is called PCS, PAX PCS project. It is again a personal communication system in a similar space. I was working with a gentleman by the name of Ranjan Pant, who was heading from the HNS side. The Ranjan was again a great guy to work with, and unfortunately, PCS did not go a full distance. I would say it kind of was implemented. It went to field trials. It got, but in terms of field deployments in a significant way, perhaps I wouldn't say it happened in that way. And around that time, when I was doing the PAX PCS, uh, incidentally, one of the when I look back, and one of the, I would say, high points for me at HSS and subsequently at IRIS and all, that I was responsible for many firsts in the company. Responsible for, or I was kind of one of the persons leading many firsts in the company. So that was a matter of great pride for me. And the one that I'm just about to talk about is one such. Is This was a project for Inmarsat Land Earth Station (ALS). They were actually migrating from analog signaling R2 signaling to digital signaling SS7, and this was an RFP that was floated, even though it came from HNS UK, but it was entirely separate from whatever work we were doing for HNS US, the Jamtown team. So it was like the RFP got floated to many other companies, and including us. And since I had some SS7 background from my DIDO days, and I had done some SS7 work there as well as part of my secret signaling task and all. So I was entrusted, given the responsibility by Mao to really author the whole RFP response, the solution, the whole thing, and create the whole response. So, in fact, I kind of single-handedly wrote the whole RFP response, and actually we won the project, and we won the project, and the project got executed to the T's, zero hiccup, and that was the very first fixed price project that was done by HSS. That's why I'm saying it is the first fixed price project that was done by HSS was something that I had executed, and I was managing that project. I was leading that project, and of course, needless to say, I had fantastic team. I was also given the responsibility to build the team, and I knew I had handpicks on some of the guys, and obviously, they some of them gave name like Sunil Mahajan and all. I'm sure you might remember Anil Rajput, Sunil Mahajan. These are some of the guys, from CDPD team that I picked up. They did a fantastic job. And why this particular project was significant. Not only that, okay, it got executed so well and everything happened to the T's, that this actually paved the way. Actually, when we were making the proposal RFP response itself, we had discussed internally, and I had kind of proposed the idea that okay, I mean, since we are going to be developing an SS7 stack as part of this development, why don't you keep the IPR, intellectual property rights for these, so that we can monetize and leverage it moving forward? And that's what we had proposed in our RFP response. And fortunately, the customer was quite willing because, of course, in lieu of that, we gave certain benefits to the customer as well. So customer agreed that we could keep the IPR. The, and having gotten the IPR for the system stack that we developed for the ADS system, that really paved the way for our stack business. So this one, SS7 and V5.2 are the two first, in fact, SS7 was the very first stack that HSS had developed, and subsequently the V5.2. And in fact, that germinated the thought process within the company. And by the time we already had Arun head the company here, and Arun kind of got the idea that okay, I mean, we should not just be remain as a services company. We should spread our wings, look at not only non-Hughes customers, but also we should take a plunge in developing products, software products. A task force was formed to really draw the blueprint for this stack business, and I was made a member of the task force. Amitabh Roy, Mao, and a few other people were part of the task force. Actually, this stack business at that point in time became so significant because when in 1999 HSS went public, the HSS story of a services plus products company was taken so positively by the investor community. I'm sure by the time you were there, and you would know that, I mean, HSS IPO was one of the most successful IPOs that had happened in those days. We learned that HNS is exploring, along with Boeing, to do a Geo Earth Mobile GM system, communication system. And they are already kind of looking at potential customers. We learned that Boeing has already signed up a customer, and the customer was Thuraya. Thuraya was an offshoot of the Etisalat and a very cash-rich company. And obviously, that way, and when Thuraya project got kicked off, obviously HSS was considered to be playing a big part in that. So we were given the responsibility to develop the ground segment software. I was there in Germantown for a significant period during these early days, when the project plans were being drawn up, the requirements were being drawn up, etc. And all. And I spent a good amount of time there. So that's when, Neeraj Tiwari, George Chocket, and several other people, I tried to interact with. And Neeraj was actually heading was kind of my counterpart. And in a way, I was kind of reporting into Neeraj as far as HNS is concerned, as a delivery. I mean, he was taking my delivery as our delivery like that way. So yes, we got the project. And that was obviously the biggest project that HSS had ever handled till that date. 100 plus members team, and 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 technological very challenging, very challenging, and obviously, there are so many things to learn. So yes, again, I would say that I was fortunate to have a great team that worked with me. You being one of them, actually. And I had absolutely great team. And of course, like I said, working with HNS has always been despite all the demands that they have always been, like any other customers who do, especially US customers. But the kind of learning and the kind of teamwork that we could build over time, that really kind of was a key thing, which eventually made sure that okay, this whole thing got developed on schedule. And of course, it was a huge success with flying colors. I was there in Abu Dhabi. Actually, this gateway station was between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. We were there, spent a lot of time. But when finally Thuraya went live, I was back in India, and I remember in the afternoon I got a call from Sudakshina and Shantanu. So that was one of the very first calls made over Thuraya satellite to somebody. It came through the gateway to the landline, and I had picked up that call. So that was hugely satisfying to hear, to get a call, and one of the first few calls, that was made over Thuraya satellite, and I was the recipient of the call. So immensely satisfying, and so yes, I mean, but yes, at the same time, such a complex project and of this magnitude, obviously there were many challenges, many challenges, especially like I mean, getting something to work in a lab environment is okay, but the moment it is taken to a field environment, it is entirely different ballgame, and especially where there is a satellite involved, there is so much of terrestrial connectivity involved, etc. Now, something, some of it maybe you will be able to simulate in a lab environment, but most of it you will actually experience when you have gotten into the field. That way, the kind of issues that got reported, even what used to be called the factory acceptance testing, HNS along with Boeing, they had set up a huge simulated environment where this whole system was being tested into, and obviously they had to do that. The kind of issues that were getting reported, and a lot of issues were related to, I mean, I would say real time issues, in sense that okay, I mean, issues which are uh, real time. I mean to say that okay, I mean all critical timing issues, etc. of that nature, which typically would come. There is some calls, which coming with a lot of jitters and all. For example, how to handle those, in the ground segment. Those kind of issues. So obviously, we could resolve those, we could debug those, but in the process, we got tremendous amount of learning that okay, what it means to deploy a system of that magnitude, that complexity in a fielded environment, and which of course, augured well for our subsequent projects that we did for satellite environment, like in Marshall Ali entry system and all, where perhaps we could leverage those learnings, and obviously, I mean, those things we could really kind of get a lot of benefit out of that. But yeah, overall, I would say Thuraya was a great experience, and extremely rewarding. And in fact, after the project got over, Neeraj was kind enough to ask, why don't you come to HNS and start working out of HNS. But I say no, I'll rather be in India and work from here. And yeah, in fact, one of the good things, and I would say satisfying things that when I look back and I see that okay, I mean, most of them, rather, I would say all the client counterparts that I have worked with, the senior leadership and all, it was never a transactional, and almost all of them, they become friends of my life. So I have been in touch with them. We're in regular communication, and some of the ones that I'm going to talk about now, and some of you know them well. We are friends for life. So that's immensely satisfying. Even for that Asian UK days, the Paul Lockyer, who used to be my counterpart, he went out to become a big guy in writer, then Arthur Christian, and subsequently, of course, Neera, George, and all these for the Thora program. Immensely kind of that is something you carry in your life. It's not just that you did a project, you were successful, that's all good, but in terms of the ones that is over, how that equation was taken forward, that's what gives me a lot of satisfaction. So after Thuraya was over, I had just started small time engagement with Nokia Networks. And the engagement that time was for the RNC program, and it was more of a staff augmentation kind of a program where we were just kind of, I would say, supplying bodies to augment their team. But of course, they had seen that, okay, I mean, HSS has good talents, engineering talents. And that's when Nokia Networks was considering to develop their second generation packet control unit, what they call PCU2, and they had floated an RFP, and which again, came to us. And again, I was one of the guys, who had authored the RFP response. And not only the authoring the RFP response, I still remember the presenting the response and defending the RFP response was something that I was doing alongside some of the other folks like Vinod and all. And that went extremely, and I mean, Nokia guys, they are engineering talent to the hill, and they wouldn't take any nonsense in any manner. So very critically reviewed every lines of what we had said in our response, and especially focusing on what are the have we kind of seen through what are the challenges that may come, what kind of risks that are there, how we address to mitigate those risks, where the things, the solution part was one. Other part was these aspects, and of course, evaluating our capability to be able to execute such a program. So this whole thing was a very well-rounded evaluation that was done by Nokia leadership before actually, they we won the project. We got the project. Obviously, it was a big project. And again, I was fortunate enough to be given the responsibility to lead this project. And we had three distinct parts in that project, which one was the what was called the application software, which is from the protocol part of it, the platform software, and of course the QA being the third element. First, of course, we were developing the platform software, and of course, developing the protocol software. We also had to go through because Nokia, even though Nokia Networks had given us the project, but they were very particular that okay, they wanted to have some initial proof points to see whether we are really heading in the right direction. We are able to do that or not. So they had defined what is a POC, a proof of concept, as a milestone, and to see whether we were able to kind of achieve the kind of traffic requirements that are there, etc., and all. And we implemented and we demonstrated the POC. POC went with flying colors, and everything was as it was scheduled, etc., and all, without any hiccups. And then subsequently, also the project was going pretty well. It was a very big project, of course, but uh, sometime down the line, certain changes that came, and perhaps change management and certain requirements kept changing and all, which perhaps, on hindsight, and I being the main person responsible, I would definitely take the responsibility. Perhaps it could have been handled better and or managed better. Nevertheless, and that kind of led to some of the program milestones, going off gear. It actually ran into real rough weather, at some point in time, in 2004, late 2003, 2004, and 2005 times. But the best part was, like one. that the team that I was part of, the team I had, which you were part of too, they were so proud about their capabilities, and we were also proud about our capabilities. When this program had gone off gear, from a schedule point of view, etc., it, apart from anything else, it hurt our pride, and that hurting the pride, it really act as a significant, tremendous motivator for everyone to go all out and fix it and get it on. That is number one. Number two, despite it had gone kind of off gear, I think our leadership, especially Arun, and for that matter, the next level leadership also had tremendous trust in the ability of this particular team. Even though like it has gone, uh, things have run into rough weather, this team is the only team which can fix it, which can bring it back to the track. So that trust also definitely meant a lot for me as well as the team as a whole. And yes, we went through kind of real grilling period. So eventually, we could get things back on track. And I remember they used to have a milestone for E3.5. I still remember the day we accomplished the E3.5 milestone for the PCU2 project. If you ask me the top three most memorable and happiest days of my entire professional career, E3.5 day definitely would be one of them. It was when we all were happy. I still remember. You immediately kind of set up a party at Bristol. We had a night out at Bristol. All of us were there, and couldn't have been a happier day, for all of us. I mean, all the hard work that had gone in, all the passion that had gone in, seeing that particular milestone through was extremely significant for all of us. And once again, I like to thank everyone for that, and like you and many others, who made that happen. I mean, I still PC2 project is the best project that I've worked in my life. All the ups and downs that I have been through and seeing through that, I think that those downs made it even more satisfying. It was not just a business as usual for us. Yes, I mean, I had handled complex big projects earlier as well, but this one, because of possibly those rough weather, because of those downs, and then getting it out of that, perhaps made it even more rewarding and satisfying for me as well as the team as a whole. So any day, if somebody asks me which is the project, this two, period. In fact, for every RFP that they used to float, we used to compete. I mean, Wipro used to be our competition, and obviously other players also. But almost every project we used to win over all these competitors, and not because just the the solution that we used to propose, and we were definitely not cheap. We were possibly more quote unquote expensive than some of the other competition. But despite all these factors, the value that they saw that HSS could bring on the table, possibly that was, I would say, unparalleled that compared to some of the other competition. In fact, I remember, one of the much later, many years later, somebody from a different organization was just generally chatting up with me, and he was asking, what was the magic that, okay, I mean, you guys were more expensive than some of the other, some of your competition like Wipro and all. He actually named Wipro and all. But how you guys could manage to win every project from Nokia Networks? What was the magic? And means that, okay, it had really gone out of, not just limited to our organization. The word had gone really out. The community knew what HS is, and by the time it had become RSN in 2006, what value that this organization was able to bring. So that way, yes, I mean, after doing all these projects for Nokia and all, uh, after that, I was given responsibility to head the engineering function in Gurgaon, except the Nokia. part of it, till I would say 2012, is when I was handling the Gurgaon engineering. I recent wanted to foray into uh, kind of wanted to spawn off practice or the innovation as a key function. And I was asked to um, kind of run that practice for all the wireless and wireline products. So, of course, primarily it was all the IP generation that was happening, was primarily, and also some of the forward-looking activities that were happening, that were being done, quote unquote, bit of a research work and or a bit of a consultancy work that we were doing, etc. We're all folding into that. It was not a big organization. Of course, the stack or the product team was there. But besides this product team, it was not a very big organization. Unlike the kind of teams that I was handling, like in Gurgaon, I was almost heading a 4,000 strong engineering team. From there, it was quite a bit of a switch for me. But I think it was okay, because organization had taken the decision that okay, this is perhaps is a key for us to be able to spread our wings and earn, kind of get new business and also expand our product portfolio, etc. So that way, that was challenging. I would say at the same time rewarding. But yes, I mean over time things had changed. Also, as an organization, it was not like what it is earlier. Uh, yes, I mean after that, I handled innovation for a significant time. And then after that, there was a change, and there was a strategy as a function was spawned off. I was made the part of the strategy function. And when actually Frank was the CEO of the organization, that's when the strategy function got formed, etc. And all. But prior to that, of course, there were some changes that had happened, which was, I wouldn't say very pleasant changes for me. But yeah, then it happened. I mean, I did see a few low points at this point in time. And but yes, I mean overall, I think if I look back at the 25 years that I have spent at HSS, Harrison, Flextronics, Harrison, and Altran after that, I get up in Altran. Overall, I would say okay, it's immensely satisfying. But yes, I mean if I out of the 25, I think the first 17 odd years, I would say that the most satisfying, most rewarding, most fulfilling time of my professional career as a whole. One other thing, I'd like to mention, in Arun, we really saw what walking the talk literally means. It was absolutely one of the best leaders that I have ever met. I would say. Because I remember we used to have this quarterly QSM, quarterly staff mate. One of those QSM mates, and Arun was there on the dais, and then before he was distributing the kind of giving out the prizes and all. So he was being asked a few questions. The very first question that I remember Vivek Pachuri was a guy who was asking. He was asked, what is the one quality of a leader or the head of an organization that you value the most? And Arun's reply was fairness. And I think, that unfortunately, perhaps over some point in time after Arun left, and perhaps Arun's legacy also eroded over some time. I think that part became a little, I would say, didn't remain as a strong point of this organization, unfortunately. Uh, and yeah, I think some of the corporate politics, etc., tried to creep in and all. That's possibly had made some of those later years, I would say, not as enjoyable as what it was earlier. Let me put it that way.
I'm sure your entire journey, which you have narrated over here, must have brought, smiles as well as tears in the eyes of your colleagues and your juniors and the people whom you mentored. So thanks for taking us through this journey. But forgive me for asking this, and partially you might have answered, but Didn't the organization Hughes, Flextronics, Addison, which brought out the best in you with your career reaching its zenith, where ultimately did the organization let you down? You give it all to the organization, but then there was a time when a person who was once a junior ended up becoming your boss. When you had a serious role to play in the developing the software IPRs at Addison. I remember the whole company was abuzz on the grapevines about this. How did that make you feel? Did it make you angry or sad or humiliated? Please tell us all about it honestly, now that it is there in your hindsight.
Yeah, first, Prashant, first when I heard that, it was sheer, utmost disbelief to start with. I couldn't believe that okay, such a thing was actually going to happen. And yes, I did feel humiliated, felt angry also. In fact, I almost had decided to put in my papers, and I had kind of said, that okay, perhaps, this is not something is something I'll be able to fathom. It was just too difficult for me to fathom. In fact, I remember, this thing happened when we were in Barcelona for the MWC. That's when this announcement had happened, and I kind of indicated that okay, this is definitely not something I'll be able to. It's kind of humiliating for me. So that's when Frank said that okay, he would like to have some dialogue with me and all. We had a long discussion with Frank, and Frank of course said, we definitely know what value that you bring to the organization, and we are very very cognizant about that. This decision has been taken because of some structural changes that we had to make. So he kind of requested that okay, please bear with the change, but at the same time, one for example, in terms of the direct reporting, even though this person was who was at one point in time was my my junior, in fact, was reporting to me, so he was made the boss. But he, fortunately, I was not asked to report to him officially. I continued to report to somebody else, who possibly had a role to play in this change also, unfortunately. And at the same time, I was conferred the Distinguished Fellow of Harrison. I happen to be the only Distinguished Fellow of that organization to date. Perhaps nobody else has been given. I don't know. It's been 6 years since I did this, 5 years I did this organization. So that was an accolade I definitely liked. Uh, Again, like I said, I have been part of many firsts. This was another first for me. So yes, it took a while for me to really get over this change, and this particular phase. But yes, I kind of eventually I would say reconciled. Uh, it had also taken a toll on my health as well, just to tell you, and I had to go through some serious health hazards and all, it was so heavy for me, and in fact, some people came to know about that as well. But yes, eventually I kind of managed to get over and taken forward. But yes, it was humiliating. I was angry, and it was like I said, and I just couldn't believe, that. And like earlier, I was saying, that the hallmark of this company, was fairness. A company which is very, very fair. And this is where I thought that got completely compromised, and in fact, it failed. It failed in a significant way. No matter what what the reason could be. So, but yes, that's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope you are hale and hearty now. That's the most important thing. Please tell our viewers that you are doing well and you are hale and hearty.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It was a bit of a phase. I had to go through some procedures and all. Then after that, it's all good. So since then, yeah, it's kind of I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty well. I don't look a guy of 62 years old, you know.
Oh, you are? I didn't know
Yes.
that. Wow. So we wish you very good health and, that sort of thing. The vivacious Pratyush Dasgupta, as always. But after leaving Addison, you did join Wipro. And of course, you changed your LinkedIn status and people got to know that you have joined Wipro. But you remained there just for a brief stint of 10 months. Clearly, something did not go right as per your expectations. What exactly happened at Wipro?
No, actually, Prashant, when I had joined Wipro, understanding of the quote unquote the deal was that after the initial 6 to 8 months that I spent, I would be relocating to UK. I was supposed to be part of Wipro UK. Okay. Um, but unfortunately, around that time, COVID happened. And because of COVID, there was a complete travel ban, complete 100% travel ban. And Wipro had a very kind of rigid rule that if somebody who has turned 58, the person cannot be kept on Wipro India rolls for even a day longer. Since the moving to UK at that point in time was not possible because of the travel ban, so I had to actually retire from Wipro. So it was Wipro. Incidentally, I was handling their 5G business as part of their 5G service line, and things were really shaping up well and all. And I was all set to move to UK. And in fact, a guy that I used to work with, he was uh, based out of Dublin in Ireland. So we were supposed to be working together closely, but that's when Q2 2020 is when the COVID was at its peak. Around the same time when I was supposed to move. So this whole thing fell apart, and I had to retire actually. That's what happened.
I see. So, well, on that note, we'll switch gears from your career to your other interests, and on more occasions than one, you have proven that you are an accomplished singer and an admirer of music. Please tell something about your attachment to the music, and while you are at it, if you could hum something for the viewers, that would be the proverbial icing on the cake.
Well, Prashant, I had an inborn talent of singing. It's an inborn talent because from the very young age, I could sing. I could learn kind of songs, difficult songs, pretty easily, and I could sing. And I didn't have any actually formal training till a very long. In fact, for singing, I never had a formal training. I did take some training in playing sitar, but when it came to singing, I never had any formal training. But I actually did many shows, in front of huge audience and all, right from my college days and subsequently even during my professional time. And so yes, I mean, singing was definitely like everyone, was very close to our heart. And in fact, I continued that passion for quite some time, But yeah, after that, over time, and as you grow older, and obviously and you don't practice anymore, etc. and all. Obviously, you start to lose that touch. So I don't sing anymore, and not even in the bathroom. But yes, but I continue to enjoy good music, listen to it, and sometimes try to hum a line or two. That's all. And you said that okay, whether I can hum something, that's a difficult one. Um, I'll try, but if you don't like, you just say that okay, it's not good. I'll stop. Okay. Let me try to think. Okay. This is one ghazal. Jagjeet Singh ghazal. I'll try to sing a few lines from the Antara. जिस्म की बात नहीं थी, उनके दिल तक जाना था। जिस्म की बात नहीं थी, उनके दिल तक जाना था। लंबी दूरी तय करने में वक्त तो लगता है। लंबी दूरी तय करने में वक्त तो लगता है। प्यार का पहला खत लिखने में वक्त तो लगता है। I don't know, how was it?
The only word which comes to me is Subhanallah. I mean, what a voice you have, and you can do it extempore. You've been talking for, you've been talking a lot, I dare say, and you can just switch gears and still not miss a note. That's absolutely formidable, and kudos to you, Pratyush. Keep it up.
Thank you. But yeah, like I said, I don't sing anymore. My favorite singer always has been Manade. So I used to sing all Manade Bengali songs, Hindi songs, and all. And in fact, at Addison also, and HSS, I have sung in earlier days, But then I kind of stopped, and yeah, yeah.
And please tell us how you spend your time nowadays. Are you still active professionally, or are you spending more time at golf than ever
Yeah,
before?
yeah. So basically, after I left Wipro, rather retired from Wipro, I was kind of, I would say, quote unquote, enjoying the retired life for some time. Then I actually joined a startup. Uh, it is a Singapore-based startup into fintech space with their operations in Indonesia, with all the product development happening out of India. So I was um, basically leading their product development, but it was in a different area, fintech space. So it was again, I had to learn a few things, but I learned pretty fast. I would say I did a decent job there. I thought I was there for almost 2.5 years, kind of a period. And then, like you mentioned, recently I got an opportunity. I got to know that okay, CDOT is looking for an advisor. They had advertised a position for advisor, and that's when I applied, went through the selection process, and got selected. So yeah, it's a full time assignment. Uh, so I'm kind of go to work every day, all 5 days. 8:30 to 5:37. So, and it's in the 5G space that I'm working. And yes, and besides that, you said golf. Yes, so golf is is my, I would say, first passion. I love that game. Fortunate that okay, I really fortunate that I actually learned and picked up that game in 2011. Yeah, and actually, in the genesis of that also happened. Like I mean, I used to be go to different business get-togethers and all. And in the evening time, evening parties and all. I used to hear some of the business leaders there talking golf, and I was not able to participate in those discussions. I used to feel kind of a little down. So that's when I thought that okay, I need to learn this game, at least to be able to appreciate what they were talking about. So that's when I started and went to a nearby course, took some lessons. And once I got hooked up, there's no looking back, so it's kind of, and yeah, I mean, it's of course, not only from a physical point of view in terms of exercise, etc., and all. So it's kind of honestly kind of it really helps me unwind, And also one other thing, in the golf course, I've been able to meet up with so many people from different walks of life, entirely outside my professional circle, coming from different areas, and some of them are very very good friends. We are very good, very close friends. In fact, we have a almost 40 to 45. In fact, actually, number is 50 almost now. 50 golfers community in NCR area, So kind of we every Sunday, we go and play a mini tournament among ourselves and stuff like that. Besides, of course, but of course, like I said, I can't play on weekdays, only on Saturdays and Sundays. But whenever I get chance, I kind of even in, like in the evening time when I'm back from work, if I get a little bit of a slot, I just head out to the driving range and hit a few balls and come back. So yeah, it gives me a lot of satisfaction. And but yes, but only thing is that okay, my golfing skill is kind of plateaued. It is not improving further. So I continue to be around 14, 15 handicap. I am not able to bring it down further. So I'm trying hard, and hopefully I'll be able to bring it down further. But yes, I mean I enjoy it tremendously.
So, for the benefit of our viewers, can you please explain what is handicap, which you mentioned 14 or 15?
Yes, so basically, handicap means uh, okay. First is that okay, and a golf course has 18 holes, right? And every hole has it could be a par three hole or a par four hole or a par five hole. But par three or a par four or par five means that okay, a professional golfer who is a scratch golfer, I would say what scratch golfer is, for a par three hole, the golfer would take 3 strokes, including a putt, to sink the ball from the tee off point. For a par four, it is to take 4 strokes. For a par five, you take 5 strokes, and typically the distance accordingly are different. And whenever you are able to achieve the same thing in a par four hole, you are able to do it in 4 strokes, then you got a par. You have achieved it in a stroke less, it's a birdie. 2 strokes less, it's an eagle. On the other side, if it's a 1 stroke more, it's a bogey, then it's a double bogey. So for a 15 handicapper means out of the 18 holes, for 15 holes, I'll do a bogey. Okay, okay, and 3 holes I'll do a par. Okay, so that means that's what a 15 handicapper would mean. Means that for 15 holes I'll play 1 over, and for 3 holes I'll do a par. But actually, what happens, maybe I'll get 8 pars. Some holes I'll get a double bogey. Some holes I'll get a birdie. Some holes I'll get a par. All mixed, but eventually it comes to that 14 or 15. That's what it comes to.
Okay, so we wish you more music and more golf, in your life, Pratyush. So, I wish you all the best. But since you're a celebrity, here is a rapid fire round with you, which I want to play. I'll give you two choices. Okay.
Firstly, I'm not a celebrity. Okay.
Well, you cannot say you're not a celebrity. We decide. We get to decide that. One of the few things which we get to decide. Uh, but here's a rapid fire round with you. I'll give you two choices for each question I'll ask. And you must pick one choice instantaneously. In fact, there's no question. I'll just give you two choices. Just spontaneously pick up one. So, are you
Sure.
ready?
Sure. Okay.
Okay, here we go. See or go?
Go.
OpenStack or OpenShift?
OpenStack.
x86 or ARM?
X86.
RAM or Core?
Right now, core.
BPP or DPDK?
DPDK. Any day.
Stocks or bonds?
Stocks.
BMW or Mercedes?
I would say BMW.
Okay, Chandra Reddy or Mohan Rangan?
That's a difficult one, actually. If okay, none, do I have an option to say none?
No, Chandra Reddy or Mohan Rangan?
It's a difficult one, actually. Chalo, Mohan Ragan.
All right, Mohan Rangan it is. Vinod Sudhar Mao?
Vinod Sood.
Elon Musk or Steve Jobs?
Steve Jobs.
It was a privilege talking to you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been listening to the veteran of the IT industry, mentor for many, and friend, philosopher, and guide for others, Pratyush Dasgupta.
Thanks, Prashant. Thanks again. Thanks for having me. And one correction on the first question, I would say change it to CE from Go, not Golan. CE is a preference. I think I was warming up still. Again, coming back to thanks for having me, and it was nice talking to you, and which has always been nice. We have been, like I said, I have the people that I've worked with, have been some of them, they become my mates of my life, and you're definitely one of them. So thanks for that. And it's always gives me a lot of pleasure, when I come across people like you and some of the other folks, to try to. Thanks a lot. And I wish you all the best in your journey ahead. And right now, happy Diwali in advance.
Likewise, Pratyush, the pleasure of this interaction was entirely mine and that of all the viewers. Thanks a lot once again.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks. Thank you.